Welcome to Model Horse Tack School. My name is Carrie, and today we're going to do a string girth. Now, the first thing that we're going to need is a loom of some sort. And so what I like to use is this, the American bead loom. I think you've seen them before. I'll show you. It looks like this. I think you've probably seen them. I think they're not very expensive. And you don't need to have this. You could just have a 2x4 with two nails about 8 inches apart. And that's really all you need. But I use this because I have this. Then what we're also going to need is a couple of jump rings, cinch rings that we've soldered and put on the eyes. You're going to need just a couple of about 5 or 6 millimeter. These are 5 millimeter jump rings, and then a couple of rubber bands. The other thing you're going to need a needle for your yarn. Now this is a canvas. It's called a plastic canvas needle, and I like these because they're not really sharp, so I'm not likely to bleed all over my project. We need whatever you're going to use for yarn, which I'm not using yarn. This is bedspread weight cotton. You can use a pearl cord, but it needs to be a cord. It cannot be, most of it cannot be, the base of it cannot be this loose thread here. It's just, you end up getting in between the threads here and it makes a mess. But you do need colored thread or matching thread for the cross weave. Okay, we're doing a macrame technique, and the macrame technique is different from Rio Rondo. They have one, but they use a weave technique. So if you don't like my technique, check out Rio Rondo's book. The next thing we need is a piece of stiff wire where from this point to this point is the length of the cinch that you want, less the rings. So it's going to be the cinch strings plus the 2 jump rings, and that would be your finished length. Okay, so measure your model, make sure you know where those rings are going to be, and then make yourself a piece of wire. Looks like this, little hooks on the ends. What we're going to do is we need to add the rubber bands to the jump ring, so that's going to go over like that. And then we're going to put the tongue, make sure it's going in the direction that you want it to go. You want the tongue to be held down by that, just so it's out of the way. Okay, so that's the way it would be, the cinch this way and then the billet straps this way. And we want to do that to both of these. Okay, so we've got our 2 rubber bands. So we're going to start with rubber band on the little nail. And then we do the hook, and then hook to the loop again, and then the other nail. Now I like this because I can use these little wings here to tighten so I can get tension, and these wing nuts are great for that. Is to cut ourselves the length of whatever it is that we're using for the base, and that's just for the strings across. We need an odd number. So it's going to depend upon the thickness. If you're using a pearl floss, I don't know if you know what a pearl floss is. So a pearl floss is corded, and it's thicker than what I'm using. So you wouldn't need as many strands of this as you do the bedspread weight. I like the look of the bedspread weight cotton, and I have a bunch of it. As for length, I guesstimate. I've got about, I think it's 2 yards. Maybe, because it's about 2 of my arm length, so it's about 2 yards. So we're going to go ahead and thread our needle with that 2 yards, and then we fold over except for whatever length you need for the working end. So I'm leaving here about a foot. And the first thing we're going to do, our first strand, we're making latigo knots, and we want to leave about 8 inches, I would say, And I'm going to go ahead and wrap that around my nut over here to make sure it stays tight. So I'm going to go up, around, through the loop again, or the jump ring, and then through the loop created. You want to go ahead and pull that tight. And then we're going to go to the other side. That's why we want this out of the way. Get in there. And we're going to go to the other side. Down. Up on the outside. See, I already need to pull this. Down. On the inside. Through the jump ring. Through the loop created. Okay, and we're going to do that a couple more times before I get rid of this bar, because if I get rid of it too soon, it's not going to be taut. So we said down, I want to go through here, down on the other side of that string, up through my jump ring, through the loop I've created here in my hand, and then I want to, sometimes it's good to use your needle to help pull it tight. See, I'm kind of directing it, not letting it, I can tighten, loosen, whatever right here, okay? Now this here already loosened on me because I wasn't paying attention. So I'm gonna, if I have to, I can dig in there and go ahead and tighten that up. And then I'm gonna wrap it really tightly around that. Well, not that tightly because now it's skewed, but I want to wrap it taut, I guess is a good way to say it. All right. Now on the other side, push this over, and we want to go down, up on this side, down on the other side, up through the jump ring, and then through the loop created. So if you have to, you can do one bit at a time, so you can see that you're creating your latigo, but it's just a latigo knot. Use that on Western saddles to cinch them up all the time. And so should be relatively easy to remember. All right, so now what you want to try and do is make sure they're all the same. See, that one is lumpy. We're going to go ahead and pull this. It's not lumpy, it's like wavy. Pull on this. There we go. Okay, that's 3 strands. We could probably, let's see if this is going to hold, remove that so it's out of our way. So what do? Down, up towards you, through the strand towards you. On the other side, through the jump ring, through the loop created. Now it's kind of important, this little, that we get our tongue in the middle. Sometimes I have had to remove them because I got them in the wrong place and I had to put them back on. So it's not like it's fixable, but it's just easier if you can get that tongue, which is supposed to be held down by this ring, out of the way. Now that is 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's work on 5. Down, up towards yourself, down, and then through your jump ring, and then through the loop created. And then we're trying to make sure it stays taut, 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 taut. And we want them to lay flat, no twists. Everything has to be nice and flat in here. If it's not, now's the time to fix it. Okay, I think we're gonna go, okay, I need to pull this. We're gonna do one more, down, through the side to myself, right? To the other side, through the jump ring, and then through the loop created. And then I'm gonna pull that up. Make sure I get that to lay down on the correct side. I'm going to pull that taut. Okay. One more on this side. Down, up towards me. Down on the opposite side, up, and then through the loop created. You'll find that one side is easier than the other. All right, now we've got 2, 4, 6, 7. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to do 7 on the other side of the tongue. Okay, next move is we're going to start doing this right in here. So I'm going to take that extra thread and I'm going to thread my needle. And what I want to do is basically just down in through the loop, pull it tight. Next string down, in through the loop, pull it tight. Hope you can see this. My hand's not in the way, right? Okay, good. And we're going to do that to every strand all the way across. And that's what the first row looks like. Is we're going to have to end this. So I am going to sew it through a couple of times. You know how much I love my glue. Okay. So we need to do the same for the other side. Just as an aside for a little cheat. This side we didn't have as much. We only had this much. So I took the extra and I did a side-by-side glue. I'll show you, it'll be something like this. So it's a cheat. Shh, don't tell anybody. I don't want anybody to know I do this. But anyways, you put a little bit of glue like that. And then you take your string, lay it side by side, and then you roll it. And then you have a splice that looks like that. So here I finished with the other side, and right there is my splice. So I had it just enough so I'd be able to finish. All right, next, I need a little piece of leather lace that's been skived. This is from my little scrap bag, so it's not like I had to go hunting for it. But I'm going to put one of the jump rings on. Like that. And then in the picture, you notice how the jump rings hang over the edge. So this is what we're making right now. So what I'm going to do, now you could basically just put the other jump ring on, bring this over, and just glue it in place. That would work. However, we want to be able to widen this. I don't want to glue the strands down, so what I'm going to do is just kind of finger press where that goes. And now I need to find exact center. So I want to make sure this is exactly centered on my cinch. I'm going to take a ruler, and I can do exact center ring to ring, or I can do exact center just for the string. So this is 3 inches, and half of 3 is 1.5, right? Please tell me I'm right there, because if I'm wrong, I'm messing this up. So at 1.5, I'm just going to kind of put a little bit of a mark, and that way I know exactly where I'm going to put that strap. And I'm going to tack it down. It's not huge, but I'm going to tack it down. Not a lot of glue. But I just don't want it to move for a while, so I'm really just doing a few of the center strings. And then this is where we start our color. So I'm just going to take really a short strand, because I'm going to try and use all the strands on here instead of doing a large one and then having a bunch of pulled apart. So I'm going to take one strand. You could use 2. And for my first pass, I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to kind of hold this under, and I'm going to kind of just zigzag. here I am going to do more of a zigzag. So I'm coming out on the outside, in on the first one. I'm going to do that again on the outside, in on the first one. And now I'm going to go back. Alright, that's annoying me, so I'm just going to go ahead and glue it down just a little bit. So it'll stop annoying me. So this is where I would switch needles. This is a short, sharp needle. Some people spit on them. I glue them. Glue is kind of like permanent spit. So I'm just going to somehow work this through. Right through all the previous wraps, like that. And now let's cover that. Get a piece of our colored string and one piece, one thread, fold it in half so you have a loop at this end, one end, right? And then I have the two open strands at the other end. And we're going to put the two open strands into the needle eye and thread it like that. Okay? And then you can measure or you can guesstimate between where half is. All right? And we're going to we'll go ahead and go in one. And we're going to go in through the loop. We're going to pull it. And then next string. And then you want to go in through I don't know if you see that. How do I describe this? So you're going to go under a strand, and then we want to go between the two colored strands. And then before you tighten it, make sure it's straight. Up through a base strand, between a colored strand. We'll just do that all the way to the other side. My favorite thing, yes, I glue. So right here on the edge, just those 2 strings. We're going to pull it around, hold it down. Cut it and throw that away. So now we get to do that to the other side. There we go, all done on both sides. Look how cool that is when it stretches. It's nice and stretchy. That would be very realistic. Now I can take the rubber bands off. And that is your string cinch.